So I'll be switching my language show today. It's supposed to be an English show, but today, because we're going to discuss an important issue here for Vanuatu, not only for Vanuatu, but Pacific Island countries throughout the world, which is the ICJ resolution. So we have in the studio, so Bani Tuktuk Bislama. So you got inside the studio Dr. Christopher Bartlett, who is Climate Diplomacy Manager, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Vanuatu, with Monsieur Jean-Pierre Sam, who is Vice Chairman of Vanuatu One Voice Kivhan, and Director of Nabanga Group. So to the studio, we'll discuss the resolution itself and the big event will coincide with one in Vanuatu put out UNGA this coming Wednesday, Thursday early hours of Vanuatu. Now, Dr. Bartlett and Monsieur Sam, good morning. Welcome to 96.3 Bars FM.
Good morning. Morning, thank you.
And now, Doctor, before you may go to discussing the big event, the UNGA meeting in regards to the ICJ resolution, we just wonder, suppose you say taken when go back the history where Vanuatu had got that idea, taken that incentive and we call for it, low cop, blow on survey discussing.
Yes, thank you so much, Kizzy, and thank you so much, Lord Audience, who will come to Harem about this truly historic campaign, which was in New Zealand, and we start more than 4 years ago. Vanuatu, one of the most vulnerable nations on the planet. Time when we talk about all impacts of climate change. I mean, we experience everything from devastating cyclones. We've just gone through the impacts of Judy and Kivhan. We face sea level rise, which is already eating away all coastlines, every island of Vanuatu. You may start facing issue of ocean acidification, which may happen time where all rubbish gas, carbon dioxide, and we mix with them salt water, and we make them become acid, which actually eats away the coral reef, seagrass beds. When we experience changes in rainfall patterns, you may never forget them all droughts, all over the dry time, we must go through. So every single impact of climate change, what has to happen, you may face in phase one, and you may face in strong, Vanuatu. And so for a long time, Vanuatu has to call, say we need urgent action for addressing root cause of climate change. And that root cause, he may not come to Vanuatu. He may not come to you born in Doti. He no come no small truck or small business play me Vanuatu, no. Cause for climate change, he may come out of major industry or major combustion, more production of fossil fuels, which that happened in another country. So we have this injustice that other countries, other places on the planet, only causing climate change, yet all people of Vanuatu, you may suffer for climate change. And so around about 2018, it been got one course, international law, where it takes place in Emalus campus, the University of the South Pacific. And all law students play me, he got all Pigmini Vanuatu, he got Solomon Islands, he got around the Pacific, all is to study what can international law do to prevent kind harm which to happen when people in the Pacific caused by other nations. And only review all different conventions and all different treaties, and only got one idea, say, why not you may take in question the international climate harm equal the world's highest court. Not all local courts, not all tribunals, but the world's highest court, which is the United Nations International Court of Justice. And thinking come out of the classroom. The students only discuss around them, only debate them idea, only say, this has never been done before. Why not you may put some Pacific in the living world, we're asking this legal question. What do states have to do for an international law to protect the more vulnerable people against the impact of climate change? So we discussing Google, and only been sending one delegation. He can visit Vanuatu government, Lotanya, only approach the Minister of Foreign Affairs, who at the current time is Minister of Climate Change, Honorable Ralph Regenbanu. And then Minister of Foreign Affairs, and we had him, and we say, okay, we understand the legal premise. Please, you will prepare one brief, come formally present him, he come to government. So students, lo tayo lumike, and after some small deliberation within the Council of Ministers, Vanuatu government had decide to take him up this fight on behalf of the students, on behalf of vulnerable communities, or vulnerable families of Vanuatu, and take initiative there all the way. So the first thing that happened was in 2019, Vanuatu had proposing at the Pacific Island Forum leaders meeting, say you may take him as a good position. But lo time you survey got some different governments were only part the forum lo time different administrations, very high polluting governments, and only reject them proposal of Vanuatu. But you may not give up. We bided our time, you continue to make legal analysis, and then we restarted the campaign in 2020. Government of Vanuatu with the civil administration, and we set them up on task force with them Attorney General, State Law Office, with them Prime Minister, Prime Minister's Office, Ministry for Climate Change, Ministry for Foreign Affairs, with them Onara important officials. Well, look how you may have a approach. And this time you may successfully go through. You may take a Pacific Island Forum leaders. That time you may hold on Fiji, and it was unanimous. It wasn't easy, but then unanimous. Pacific, as a group, agree say but you may take them all the way. The next step was the Caribbean. So you may go Caribbean leaders, CARICOM. Prime Minister at the time, MP Lofman, he may make one outreach and only agree. Only say, okay, full Caribbean. Now you support. So now we have the Pacific, we have the full Caribbean. Next step, Africa. So Ambassador Blini, we establish Brussels, Ambassador George Manuri, and we take a proposal, go down to Mozambique. We want big for a parliamentary assembly, we want organization, we call them Africa, Caribbean and Pacific States. And have we make a picture with them special envoy Blini, Pakua Kaltonga, to go, and with them planted debate, you may win in Africa. So now you got Pacific, you got Caribbean, and you got Africa. And the total number of states here, and you 79 countries finish. So basically, you tell them say, majority blow well, instead ready blow move now. Become no question. So, once we're all high emitting country, or polluting country, all the harem say, all vulnerable nations, all join together, by the will anyway, may as well, you may start low. Join with them all. So Minister, the Foreign Affairs Plini, Honorable Minister Napat, he taken one mission, he go to Europe, last month in February. And he go fall down the capital cities, the major economies of Europe. He go to France, he go to Germany, he go to England, he go to Brussels, and then he make him a very strong call. What he said was this: every country around the world now only agrees that climate change is one people issue. The rich, the poor, you've north, you've south, or develop, you everyone may agree. Climate change is not just one question about degrees of Celsius. Climate change is not just one question of how many tons of carbon dioxide. No. Climate change is about fundamental human rights. Suppose you may continue the fallen road there, but you may undermine all human rights of the Pacific, of the Caribbean, of Africa, but of the rich countries too. Those vulnerable people who are not responsible only start suffer. And so we have to take a new approach. They look, what are the legal protections for people's human rights? It's not just in the climate change treaties. It's not just in the climate change conventions. But you may got all human rights conventions. You may got the Convention of the Rights of the Child, the CEDAW, which is the Bill of Rights of Women. You may got the Law of the Sea, which obliges states to protect the ocean. Why not? You may pull on every international agreement where you may got finish. Now apply and become your question for climate change, you may everyone you may agree, so you may need more action. So with them slightly different diplomatic approach, you may manage to start to convince him all country will come inside. So we start with them some very big countries. We want them especially congratulate them. The highest emitters will join first one with the Mimi. You may got New Zealand. And we want the first partners where Henry tell them say yes, this is the right way forward. In a long time, you may got Portugal, you come inside. You may got Liechtenstein, Germany, you join with the Mimi. So now we start to look, say it's not just all poor countries, all developing countries. It's the biggest ones. And now me just glad to us, but tell them say with them concerted effort over the last 4 years. Today long morning, you may confirm them say 121 countries around the world only agree, only co-sponsor only support them call. Well, beginning with the USP will start in 2018. will go to highest court in the world, will ask him, say, one and now, you mean everyone you must make him, will protect them human rights from climate change impacts. So one and by happen na ya, you may got these co-sponsors, so basically the beginning the match, all country will start to join name, and in fact today the morning you got the latest country, which was Republic of Poland.
Wow.
Poland, which is in Europe, and my giveaway will say Poland is one of the biggest the biggest coal producers in the world. So they have huge carbon dioxide emissions. They are very much responsible for climate change, yet only looks at the importance, but we must start protecting human rights. No matter what they had, only agree, say, only join with Vanuatu. So 121 countries.
Wow.
Now, what's going to happen next?
Yes.
Tomorrow is the big day where Vanuatu, the Honorable Prime Minister Kalsakau, will stand up, the floor plenary of the General Assembly of the United Nations. So the UN General Assembly here is in Parliament, the world. Every country got representative. Prime Minister Bini Bahemi table and resolution. He'll read out the resolution, he'll explain from one and now you must take him initiative, what do we expect, and Bahemi invite him on our country to adopt them. Now, it got two ways where any survey play out. First way, Prime Minister Hemi table and resolution, and everyone only agree. In not got any opposition. And in that case, by President of the General Assembly, by Hemi government say, it was adopted by consensus.
Wow.
And let me just say, if this first pathway Hemi happen, by Hemi first time ever, the history of the General Assembly, where you may adopt one resolution in the International Court of Justice by consensus. It's never ever happened. So we're hoping, you may pray, you may put in a hand of big man, say he will take this right through, no opposition. However, there's always a chance, so if we got one or two countries, we're only no happy to us, no resolution. So we mentioned in finish, we got 121, but there are 194 countries in the world.
Yeah.
So there's a big gap still where you may not have it. So for example, you may not have it all Gulf states, all states like Middle East, or not giving an indication yet. You know, America, and not giving indication yet. China, you know, giving indication yet. So
India,
some very important India, not yet. So you got some very important states where we're not sure. We hope you must talk to get that diplomatically or give them some informal support finish, but officially not yet. So if any one of those states decides that no, we will not agree to us, they can call for a vote. So this is the given to any state, they at least have a call for a vote. And if they call for a vote, meaning say every single country, you must pull out ballot plan and only put on vote. Either yes, you may adopt them resolution, or you may reject them. Now, in order to pass and vote, Vanuatu, needing one simple majority, no. It means say you need about 97 states where you may vote in support.
That's right.
But you got 121 co-sponsors. So
yes.
That's why I tell them say it is very likely. Say by Vanuatu we go through. No matter whether you adopt by consensus or adopt by simple majority vote. Vanuatu by stand up tomorrow as one world leader for climate change. And we just want them highlighting very quickly that this is not a small accomplishment. This will be the first resolution that Vanuatu has ever tabled the UN General Assembly. Since we got independence in 1980, we have never tabled a resolution. In addition, it's the first time the issue of climate change, Bambahemi brought in the International Court of Justice, only touching full of topic finish, only touching nuclear weapons, only touching decolonialization, only touching territorial dispute, but it never got one country asking climate change, the one size court. So this is historical. And I think really a lot of countries only looks at the leadership of Vanuatu. In addition to this ICJ, you must have making plan the noise the last few years. You need a country, you need harem say Vanuatu hemi First Nation will call for a new crime where you need put in the International Criminal Court. So you got all crimes against humanity, you got genocide, you got war crimes, you got crimes of aggression. But Vanuatu hemi First Nation, first country will call for a crime of ecocide. And ecocide basically means all actions where all states only taken which destroys the environment. Not small cut in 1 and 3 where no, massive action on a huge scale that destroys the planet. So Vanuatu na must lead them. Same time too, you must lead them call for one new treaty. One fossil fuel free Pacific treaty, non-proliferation treaty for Vanuatu is lead it. You may lead into one campaign igolo International Commission for Small Island States and Climate Change. We'll bring in ICJ, to bring climate change to the law of the sea. You missed our Libyan too, and a call for a ban on deep sea mining. So Vanuatu really right now is at the top of the world leadership on climate change. And this ICJ resolution, which will be adopted tomorrow, is going to cement the leadership. So we must tell them, first of all, congratulations to the administrations from the past to the present that have led this fight. Congratulations to Parliament that passed the climate emergency declaration last year that set all of this in motion. And most of all, congratulations to the people of Vanuatu who, despite the suffering, despite the anguish of losing homes and schools and infrastructure and lives because of climate change, we are showing our resilience. We have not lost hope with UNGA. You may not lose some spark. We're pulling together the global community. I mean, this is going to be a win for every man, woman, and child, chief, pastor, down the grassroots level of Vanuatu. You celebrate together tomorrow. So that session by Hami happened on Wednesday in New York at 10 o'clock in the morning New York time, which is actually 1 a.m. early morning, like Thursday morning, Vanuatu, but it's going to be live streamed. So you must have a login, UN Web TV, and watch the Prime Minister and the table and resolution. You must have a watch him, how reaction will go to community, whether they adopt them by consensus or you got vote. But you must have a watch him with speeches, or by heads of state and all ambassadors by making in support, and then you must have a celebrate together. Early morning on Thursday. Now, there's going to be other celebrations, which my good friend will speak about, so we can all participate here. But again, I just want to let the country know that this is not just a run-of-the-mill event. This is the culmination of years of sweat, years of diplomacy, and the fact that we start, beginning we start youth, where future is at stake from climate change. They led this, and they deserve the congratulations for taking Vanuatu where we're going to go tomorrow.
Thank you too much, Dr. Bartlett. Plus, I've taken me go by below walk about Vanuatu, where he is Vanuatu low and high stage, global stage, where Mr. Kandamol Hawa now before House Blue or the Country Blue World probably have meet more early endorse resolution Vanuatu now. We understand them say during the time of campaign he become 18 core country where he choose Olketa will make him work Olketa or he survey negotiate with them or big people meetings in the world. Now tell me how now only been choosing Olketa 18 country.
Great question. So Vanuatu, you must have make him work Uni 1. We depend on our partners, and this is really about sharing the burden of addressing climate change. And so these 18 countries we mentioned, you missing out the Olketa core group, Vanuatu, and Olketa only draft them the first resolution. Vanuatu come with them one, but it was very Pacific focused. And Olketa only come inside, we invited them to come inside from all geographic regions, to bring in much more of an international flavor. Lo question where you want them ask him lo highest court. So we had from Latin America, we had Costa Rica, for example, only join with them Yumi. From the Caribbean, we had Antigua and Barbuda, which is another very small island state, just very similar to Vanuatu. From Africa, we had a lot of countries. You may bring him in Sierra Leone, bring him in Mozambique, Morocco, Uganda, and Angola as kind of the champions. But make sure say full African continent, ibakam yumi. Then we brought in Asia. So thank you to much, Bangladesh, with them Vietnam or Singapore. Three people champion of Asia, and all katana lista talk plante with them China, li talk with them India, Narawan where you may stop wait yet, loli support.
Yes.
Then of course Europe, you mentioned in Venice, you may got Portugal, you may got Germany, Liechtenstein, with them Romania, hemi fofala country blow Europe, and you will Pacific, you got 4. Where you may lead him charge. Vanuatu, may lead him overall initiative, but also you may glad to mas, Micronesia, with them Samoa, more New Zealand, where you may Pacific. So that's the 18 core group. And what we did was you may start lo draft and then seek him consultation on our country. So each geographical area, we go back, Costa Rica, go Latin America, say, also when him lo sentence, you agree, say, but you may ask him quote this particular question, or after you give him feedback, you may send him. So you may start with them one draft. And after 3 or 4 rounds of consultation, you may end up with them question where by tomorrow United Nations General Assembly look lam. So we should clear him say resolution we bypass hemi include question we by go. So resolution, the actual document itself, hemi set them up problem lo climate change. Hemi say climate change is the most serious threat that hemi face in humanity. Hemi go through lo science, hemi go through lo human rights issue, and then the last part of the resolution is the question, the legal question, whereby you may ask him lo international court.
You sabe Sharon that's for the question?
Absolutely. I mean, it's very technical. It's a legal question. The question, you break them down, you go to two parts. No, I mean, very simple. The first part of the question is, what are the obligations for every state, every country, under the international law, to ensure them, say you may protect them the climate and the environment for present and future generations. So basically, me ask him, court say, look, every treaty we stop. Not just climate change treaty, not just climate change content. Look, full international law. Mo you clear him law, me will everyone, one him now obligation. Well, country only must make him to prevent him harm. The second part of the question is a little bit more contentious. Now you may have a one more obligation. The second part, he tell us say, okay, so what are the legal consequence? Suppose obligation he broke, mo harm come out. What happens? Suppose all vulnerable people of Vanuatu, or all young fella, all get all future generation, all suffer him harm. One him illegal consequence, lo state. So, one question where the answer could be anything. I mean, the International Court of Justice might only tell him, say, well, all country will cause him harm, or he must pay him, lo fix him. Which means Vanuatu might him start look more finance start flowing come, lo support them all family, all community, all island will start suffer damage. Might International Court of Justice and tell him say, well, all country only must address him harm will cause him through the new projects. So maybe by you may look say now only must come down, but set them up all adaptation projects, lo agriculture or water or health, lo help him you may cope with them damage or harm where you may face him. Might International Court of Justice and tell him say all country only must stop lo emit all greenhouse gases. Hemi one legal consequence. You only cause them harm, now you must stop. So you may wait, look, when now by court, but it's not like you may just hope no more say court, you make one good decision. There's actually a process that starts tomorrow. As soon as our question we adopted or resolution we adopted, then by court is starting process plan. Now process plan court long. Sabi take up to 2 years. All judges, all the caramel evidence, all the caramel statement, all the caramel submissions from every country in the world. Means say Vanuatu is having mega one submission lo court, but tell them say you look, all rights, all women, all the affected by climate change in these ways, these are the obligations. Where all countries only should make him help him all get that. Maybe all countries like Africa only make him one submission about protecting their rangelands and their wild animals, their biodiversity from climate change. Might all countries like Europe only talk about the rights of children and future children. So every country by stop submitting all thinking all get that, you go direct to court. And after all of those submissions, then the judges, by got one panel of judges, by down and only release him one judgment. And judgment only sing out one advisory opinion. Advisory opinion of the International Court of Justice. So the advisory opinion is not legally binding. So once we're court and we give him judgment blame, you know, mean him say, by directly you must have a hold him tight one country, blow say, you look, now you must make him in. It's advice no more, any guidance no more. But it's the highest legal guidance in the world, which means a lot of countries take that very seriously. Suppose International Court of Justice, he tell him one obligation or one legal consequence, for sure, Bali start blow change him behavior blow get from Bali feel him heavy, blow judgment whereby come out. And then might all courts, all domestic courts, or regional courts, all is have a use of advisory opinion, blow take him all country or all company, eagle court for damages. So they might refer. So might only take one legal case, only refer go advisory opinion, say highest international court, therefore, I'm like sue you or take him you or court for damages. So there's a whole range of outcomes from this advisory opinion. And that's why URM say, all legal experts or climate experts, only say this is probably the most significant milestone on climate change since the Paris Agreement. Paris Agreement, and we pull all countries together, blow agree, blow fixing problem, in no start work. Now you become this judgment, which is Vanuatu is leading the most significant milestone on climate action. Huge.
So, Doctor, also tomorrow, I mean, the D-Day now for the resolution to be adopted by all the signatory to United Nations. But with them or benefit to where Vanuatu, with them any other country around the world, this resolution. Hemisabe lidico to law Vanuatu or any other country blow hemisabe access them easily the global green fund. From say at the moment, I mean, so hard. Even though Paris COP, hemi talema out finish. Say, you got one money stop also me blow all small island nation only have access and but blow access them is so difficult. You go for them process. Sometimes you don't even have a so whether this fella resolution yeah but hemi save make them wrote me easy lo all country blow access them that fella fund.
I mean, excellent question. Lo emblote, we can only do as much as we can afford to do. I mean, finance, I mean, limiting factor. So unless we Vanuatu, we receive him adequate finance for climate change, by always you may stop behind. So what's happened now with them cyclone? We wipe him out one big fella amount for finance for government. Now government, we no must have a focus on basic services, we must redirect them small budget plan, go blow recovery from cyclone. That's not fair. So we need adequate finance, which is new and additional. Low one ML government so start giving from sustainable development. So absolutely, this advisory opinion is a potential doorway. Blow all other states only looks have obligations where we got. Blow insurance so you may address some impacts. Blow climate change. So the Green Climate Fund, one, you may got a new fund where you may just stop agrilem. So His Excellency President Vorovoravu, hemi go lo Egypt, lo December last year, and hemi fight. Blow you may set them up one new fund for climate change whereby Vanuatu is have access him for loss and damage. And in fact, this week, same day where tomorrow, by you may vote lo UN, hemi end lo meeting, lo first committee meeting, lo new loss and damage fund there. So it's all linked. And unless states recognize the heaviness, lo obligation lo get under international law, pali continue lo giving pinat mo lo climate change. And that's why we have to bring in a new element. Enough lo accept them all flowery language, all promises, all commitments, all statements. Hemi by no put on food on the table, hemi by no solve them vulnerabilities lo Vanuatu. We need money, we need technology, we need technical expertise, and we need it now. So this advisory opinion will add that gravity to the situation so states feel that they have some real obligation, enforceable obligation.
Thank you too much, Dr. Christopher Bartlett, also Climate Diplomacy Manager, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Save highlight Yumi, a situation of Vanuatu in regards to tomorrow's decision, whereby all UN countries only take about the ICJ resolution. So, also, Dr. Hemitalem, through law activity where Hemisabe happened in New York, by cat one beef something to Hemisabe happen Vanuatu, everyone only link towards one and Hemi taking place New York meeting UNGA. So you may got one climate music concert where Bahami relate eco tomorrow's resolution. So you may got Jean-Pierre Sam Wahemi Vice Chairman blow Vanuatu Voice Kivhan Wahemi also Director blow Nabanga Group Wahemi joining you inside the studio now. Tell them you may the involvement blow Kivhan with the Olnavla Association blow of Vanuatu blow Oli Olem this musical concert where we coincide with them the ICJ Vanuatu ICJ resolution law United Nations.
Thank you, Mas Kizi. I think first of all, me want to tell them thank you, lo Bas FM, lo save give him time, lo you me save come talk about one very important issue. Thank you, lo Doctor. We me save clear him small ting ya walk out we Kivhan mi sa tekem. Emi one very historical walk out we also Doctor Hemitalem. And I think what them ting now all artists handalo Kivhan. Also mi save Vanuatu Voice Kivhan emi established since lo first category 5 cyclone back in 2015. And walk out Vanuatu Voice emi sa tekem finish long time ikam all time lo disaster. And you mi save all artists, you always stand up time we got one disaster affect them country, and no news pus well artist palibaga mam Kivhan lo ting-tinga from one long time fight with every people lo Pacific also Somala Island staff SM and I think below show support lo musician or artist support lo people want them celebrate want them back up Vanuatu play karam as much as possible voice lo resolution is have pass and I think bien lo ting-tinga now Kivhan decide play holem Kivhan festival well Mr. Megamul time lo all victims but sometime too want them show him support lo people lo Vanuatu bien lo Kivhan lo and I think today Mr. Tudok lo biya lo artist mi vilay proud lo Kivhan lo mi vilay proud lo technical man lo staff bien lo save draft mo pagka Kivhan mo today also mi mitalem mi show leadership lo small island nation lo mi Vanuatu and mi voice lo youth voice lo musician mi vilay stand about the Kivhan lo mi so the show tomorrow by me one 7-hour show from 3 p.m. to 10 p.m. And you may got full up artists, only full up bands artists, only show support finish. You may also have one international artist, one activist lo climate where you may got opportunity where me start satu where me involved because on them team lo you may say putumat show. You may got one team lo numia one band lo numia come town. Unfortunately, I think got some issues now. Only no sabe megem, be only show him support finish. Only one participate. Only look sabe importance plo, mo impact plo show where you mista one megem. And all artists also mitala pagan. Papa you got string band, pa you got all band. Every artist plo potvilla. Only turn up tomorrow. Only turn up. Everyone show you set them up since last week. So 1 week we like try to draft one program. You want them some support play me. You want some impact more resilient play me too. Say after lo tuvla cyclone tisi duty mo Kivhan, you may still stand up. You may still have enjoy music. You may still have share them love. You may still have show him say yes. Together you may have go forward and I think me one all main thing we give an all time me say you me yet you me say help back you me suppose you me stand up and music me one road way you like start take all time plus so say me like make music for one purpose plus you me like them country community and you me say stand up every time we got all disaster.
So this is one incentive where all youth, all singer, all musicians of Vanuatu and we join the government in support of a government project where the ICJ resolution whereby Amico before all members of United Nations. Now, all famous name also Vanessa Kwai, Stan Force, and Sheila, all get an police of a part lo list tomorrow where Balis perform?
Yes. Also you sabe Vanessa Kwai Stanentas mo Sheila Wills ako tali oli perform one ICJ theme song so by tomorrow bali perform song ya lo stage after lo official speech lo all ministers lo foreign affairs and katol diplomatic dignitary tu bali make speech and then by me have witness him theme song blo Vanessa Kwai Stanentas mo Sheila Wills.
Now Dr. Bartlett, let me talk about ikat one link where Palis have put on blo Lisave look live meeting blo UNGA. Now lo yumi lo activity whereby taking place lo Fairhour Park tomorrow afternoon by ikat Chinese where all spectator where Lisave come blo listen lo music finish or Lisave stop around blo save join him link here, we'll watch him live. Whenever by himself happen lo United Nations. One organization where you play put
okay, I think at this stage, Bambay mi i live stream show ya no mo. Ikolo page lo VPTC. And then VPTC Bambay M2 emi broadcast them ICJ resolution lo UN lo TBV. So live show lo imi tomorrow 3 to 10 p.m. by you live stream through the page of VPTC and then VPTC by live stream UN meeting law New York.
So apart from all musical events, you got any other thing by again whereby Mr. happen throughout the time?
Yes, pampa yumi kata yumi wanam talam tingyo tu lo international friends play me will stop lo Vanuatu by got some cooking, some food sale too, by sabi happen lo time ya tomorrow. Thank you all international friend who bamba yoli participate too, lo karam some international dish ikam lo salem, also last Kivhan event we been megem. Also bamba you make at one online account number we so you Mr. Lovasim you want them donate. Imi put one account imi available lo international transfers bisa ni one lo overseas oli salu klub yumi meeting meeting battle family lo RSC oli one family lo back lo villa lo Vanuatu. This is how Kivhan mi stop regime back lo community mi will receive small money then mi will work lo community project lo help building back all community. So Bombay got one account where mi available online lo oli sabe make a donation.
Wonderful remark where you want them Adam before you and them discussion believe.
Yes, I think mi want them talam no mo se climate change mi one reality lo Vanuatu. Inamata you activist or you no activist or you understand mo understand but you may run mi face some cyclone you be whether you me poor you me got money you may live lo one good house or lo one island house. But reality, me say climate change, me start affecting me. Meeting say tomorrow, lo historical work part we Kivhan me start again. You must support me event ya. So me asking play ni kam town lo Sifran lo 3 p.m. Kam support event we start tomorrow. Come give him small support to you, donation, whatever you say give him, lo hard to you. Me say you me run me victims, but when we make up lo give him. And you stop overseas online. You look account, you say donate, please donate.
Well, thank you too much, Jean-Pierre Sam, awesome Vice Chairman Blow, Kivhan Vanuatu with Director Blow, Napanga Groups. You may come to end them discussion, Blow, you may, Dr. Chris Bartlett. Give him, you may, way forward, Blow Vanuatu. Now we are where we go. When them now by you may expect them blow people only survey, only away mobile survey benefit after law resolution blow tomorrow.
Okay, so I think Vanuatu is, and we set them up him one of some world leader, blow climate change. And so by you expect them, all people blow Vanuatu, but you expect them, blow continue, blow harden these big statements, these big announcements, blow behalf, lo country, equal international level. Now what's going to be very important, most important, is that you me all people, you me take ownership of Vanuatu's climate ambitions. That starts lo household level, hemi start lo community level, lo most remote islands Vanuatu, lo country bimi lo Vanuatu, you now by you own process. And so I think hemi very important, you me learn one lesson, lo how this ICJ initiative started with a group of students, lo classroom, and only got one idea that's about to change the world. And there's no reason that those kinds of ideas, those kinds of aspirations and motivations should not keep coming from the grassroots, from civil society. You mean to shout out all youth groups, all women's groups, the men's groups, church groups around Vanuatu that are absolutely the champions of climate change. You mean not forget them you, and any idea that you've got, bring it. Because that's, and now me back them up. Government is serving you, you're in charge. And so me really want them to encourage him, those continued calls for action, demands for justice, you where you need him support, you need to look support, make your voice heard. And that's, I think, the way that we're going to change this planet. If a group of kids can do what they've done or what's going to happen tomorrow, then there's no reason that every island of Vanuatu can't keep changing the world. So I think together in partnership, and I know for sure that government has absolute commitment, blow walk side by side with them civil society, blow walk side by side with them communities. So really looking forward blow that continued collaboration for a transformation for a sustainable future.
Well said. Dr. Christopher Bartlett as the Climate Diplomacy Manager of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, with them Jean-Pierre Sam, Vice Chairman Blow Kivhan Vanuatu Musical Association Blow Country, with them Director Blow Nabanga Group. Thank you too much, Blow Save. Take him time here, join them 96.3 Bars FM, more pass him important message here, a good audience Blow of Vanuatu in regards to one Bahami happen tomorrow or some the musical concerned, but the main one law of Vanuatu, more the world, where the ICJ, Vanuatu ICJ resolution. Thank you, Tomas Plusave, joining 96.3 Bars FM.
You're tuning into Lunch with Kizzy on Buzz 96.3 FM. Lunch with Kizzy, proudly brought to you by the Vanuatu National Provident Fund. Save today, enjoy tomorrow.